All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Represented series. Extremely excited to have you all here today. This is our fireside chat, and I'm really excited to have Tracey Brooks join me. So, Tracey, welcome to the Represented series fireside.
Thank you, Dana. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Uh, Take a moment to definitely introduce yourself. I know a bit about you, and I know you were on our education series, so thank you for hopping on to that. But definitely want to make sure that people know more about you, and you can give your intro.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm Tracey Brooks. I'm a retirement income certified professional advisor out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I've actually been in the industry since 1991. I've actually began my independent journey back in January of 2018. So where I've had the opportunity to just get out here and network and meet people such as Dana and become a part of CHIP. So, and one of the things I love to do most is just work with clients individually and just help clients understand financial planning, investments, and how to reach their goals. So, and just a little bit more about me. I am a mother of one and I love, love, love hobbies. Don't need another one, but I just wanted to just share a little bit about myself first, both professionally and personally.
Are you sure? You sure you don't need another hobby?
Yes, or I'm going to need a part-time job to fund them. So,
Yeah, I definitely feel like we tend to stay somewhat busy in this industry, taking care of clients and all sorts of things that come with running a business. But how did you kind of get the vision that you wanted to enter the financial service industry? What made you want to start your own practice?
oh wow. So what made me want to start my own practice is I had been in the investment piece of the business since 2003. And I actually, when I say stumbled upon it, it was actually, I started in banking, stayed in the banking industry since 91 again. But once I started in retail banking, they had a program where it was called Cheeks in the Seat, if you will. So once you made referrals and you brought clients in and they actually showed up to the appointments to meet with the investment executive, well, as a representative or employee of the bank, well, I would get a $25 bonus. So those bonuses really started to add up. But then I actually took it a step further versus just setting up the appointment and having the clients go in and meet with the rep. I started joining those appointments with the client because the relationship, I had with the clients is what brought the clients into the bank. And then excuse me, got them to sit down in front of these investment executives. So as I'm sitting there, I'm learning and learning more about what they do and more about the investment piece myself. So from that, I just got curious and decided to start the licensing process.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's the thing, right? It's like it's something that we tend to stumble into by accident. Like my background is in marketing. Can't say that I saw myself as being a in the financial industry, but you never know.
Right.
uh,
Well, I
so
started
very
out in social. Oh, go ahead. I was just say I
no, no,
started
no.
out
I
in
was gonna
social work. That's what I wanted to do. So
No, we all end up taking some sort of pivot. Now, what is your favorite thing to kind of talk to clients about? Or how do you really make them feel comfortable when they're having their first session with you? Because sometimes, talking about finance, possibly meeting a financial advisor or professional for the first time might seem, daunting, overwhelming. What is something that you do to kind of help ease that for your clients or prospective clients?
yeah, great question. So what I try to do, Dana, is make the clients feel very comfortable. I mean, being in the industry, we have a whole lot of jargon, if you will, and a whole lot of licenses
Oh yeah,
and
way too much jargon.
right, exactly. So definitely want to make the client feel comfortable, and I start off by letting the client know that it's important to me to build a relationship. and then just really listen to the client and get to know them. Like I really want to learn more about you, and not being afraid of sharing a little bit about myself. I mean, and I'm not afraid to tell people. I mean, you can go anywhere, if you will, and get a mutual fund or the investment piece, but it's the relationship. And then really making people feel comfortable. And one way doing that, again, in our industry, it can be overwhelming to understand, but really, really educating the client on, what it all means. And then just if I have to break it down as much as possible, because I want people to feel good about what you're doing. I want you to understand. And for me as a professional, I feel as if a client has more questions, when they leave, or next time I talk to them than they did, when they came down, then maybe I didn't explain something right. So, and one of the things I can say that helps me and keeps me humble and grounded in this industry is that the relationships I've built long term. Like my longest client has been with me, oh God, since 2003, 2004. And we laugh sometime. I'm like, when we met, I was really, learning how to open up checking accounts and going through the licensing process, and you're still here. So, and has been with me on that journey, and the referral piece. Right now I'm actually helping some of her family members. So it's just really a matter of just really building a relationship and making sure not only that the client is and be a good fit, but I'm also a good fit for the client in front of me.
Yeah, that's really important, and that's really how you get that longevity. So, how have you been able to really maintain those relationships over time, right? Because you're having these long relationships with other clients, and you're also continuing to bring on new clients. What is your secret sauce to making sure that you're staying engaged with your long-term clients?
Yeah, just really getting to know people, and remembering something about that person. I'll use this example during COVID. I took time and hand wrote note cards to each one of my clients, and I made it a point to touch on something I know personally about them. One the client I was just mentioning, I know she loves line dancing and tours, goes to Chicago and different places for line dance tournaments. So I made sure I mentioned that. I know you can't do it right now, but you'll be able to do that soon. I have another client around March Madness. He and his friends would get together and go to Vegas and watch the game. So just making sure I know something about, my clients, and again, not being afraid to share a little bit about me, especially when it came to, my daughter and, other things I may have going on in my life, to where we definitely make that connection. And not have I been able to educate my clients, but I've learned a lot from them too. Definitely learn from my clients.
Oh yeah, and I think that's the beauty of this business too, especially when you work with different types of clients of all, different types of backgrounds as well. Whether that's gender, ethnicity, work related, you tend to learn a lot because as much as we're pouring into them, they're also pouring into us as well. And, I love the fact that you keep talking about bringing your full self to what you do and to your clients because people do want to learn about you as well and not just you, the, money manager, but, you, the person. And, to your point, that's probably how you've been able to really build these long lasting relationships with your clients. And
And
then
not
those that will come next, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and then, life is a journey, as we know, and then people go through different phases of life. So just even being able to be with some of, my clients as they go through different phases, where it's, loss of a family member, kids graduating college, and then all of a sudden the kids are calling me because they've graduated college and now they're working and they need help. I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel old. But anyway, just going through some of that. And then, like I said, I have where now was when you've helped me, when you talk to my sister, when you talk to, my brother or cousin or whomever. So just really, and not only just on the financial piece, but also just trying to be a resource. for people, and I've shared this with my clients, and it's not a secret. I actually have a brother who actually used to run marathons, 26 miles, but now he is handicapped and in a wheelchair. And it was quite the challenge actually finding resources available to help him. But as I learned different resources, I've been able to pass that information on to other people, whether it's, now I'm taking care of my elderly family member, or this has happened, or that's happened, don't know where to go, or don't know where to start. So just actually being able to just be not just a financial resource, but a life resource for people when they need it.
I think that's important, being a life resource and kind of looking at it in that way, right? Because at the end of the day, you're not only protecting their finances, but you're protecting their entire lives, which makes them comfortable referring you to, their closest individuals in their life, right? Their family, their friends, their children. So when you're getting those referrals or they're calling you up, and obviously there's a need there, but how do you continue to instill in them the importance of, having that sound financial foundation and really expanding on their financial education?
Yeah, definitely. So, well, I'll answer the second question part first. So, when it comes to the financial education, as part of my give back, I actually started last February posting monthly or semi-monthly webinars or seminars or Zoom calls to where I'm providing financial education to anybody who wants to jump on. And what I found is, like, I'd start with my clients and they're passing the information on, and I have guest speakers come on. So that's one way I've been able to just not only do that for clients, but also as to my community and other communities, because it's Zoom. And so I have people coming on from other states. So that's been great. And then also, when we're talking about the different phases of life, when I'm doing the financial planning or having the conversation with clients, and I'm actually thinking about a client I spoke with this morning, it's actually helping them to kind of think about things that they probably haven't thought about. Like, well, let's talk about the needs, the wants, and the wishes, and then also the unforeseen. The unforeseen is long term care needs. Let's prepare for that because it can happen. As I mentioned, my brother was 46 when he got sick. No one saw that coming. He was preparing for a marathon. So I have shared that story. So long term, when we say if something happens, a lot of times we think about, passing away, but it doesn't always mean passing away. It could be being incapacitated. So that's part of it. And then also for my clients who may have kids with or grandkids, even getting them to think about life insurance, protecting their family and their grandkids. So just helping people to really think about things that they probably hadn't considered prior to sitting down with me.
Yeah, that's really good. And how are those conversations? 'Cause I know there's always that battle of, hey, I'm young, I don't necessarily need life insurance. How is this beneficial to me? How do you have those conversations to make sure that, hey, they understand that it's not just about the ending part of your life, right? It's really about setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, no, great question. Again, I have used this personal testament. I am, again, with my brother, it was hard at first. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually his legal guardian, but I've actually have even done a presentation, on that scenario because when it hit, everything happened so fast. And then next thing you know, we have this situation to where not only is he in need of care, but then I found myself as a caregiver. So, and then as a caregiver, if someone's, if you've done it, you probably understand it a little bit. But where you're busy, caring for that person, and working full time. And then at the time, I had my daughter was in high school, actually her last year of high school. You pulled in so many different directions that sometimes it falls by the wayside. So, and then getting people to just understand it can happen. Look around, you're seeing younger people, having heart attacks. And then, COVID, let's just use COVID, for example. That's the biggest example we can use because in the beginning it was stated that, oh, it's elderly people and elderly people with pre-existing conditions. And, then it was, well, I'm young, it's not going to happen to me. But then, fast forward, 2 years into this, well, it can, happen to younger people. And again, and not people aren't just dying from it, it's the long-term side effects with breathing and energy and and other things that may go along with it. So that's part of it when we're talking to when I'm having conversation with young adults. And then the other part, young adults with children. Protect your children. If anything happens to you, is there a plan in place? Do you know? Well, if the thought is, well, my mom or my dad will or take care of my kids, do you have that in writing? If not, it goes to the next parent. That's one piece. And if it is to be a grandparent to care for that person, some grandparents are either getting ready to enter into retirement or already into retirement. What is that financial piece going to look like? So, and that's where life insurance can be so important to kind of help address those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up a couple of good points, right? There's always this assumption, I think, also in certain communities where, this person is going to take care of me. And if you're not prepared for that, how are you actually going to do it? Are you having those conversations? Are you sure that this person even wants to? Right? We
Yeah.
make a lot of assumptions on what we think people might want to do versus what they're willing to do and actually able to do as well. So it's good that you kind of talk people through that distinct differentiation because it's a big one. And not putting so much pressure on yourselves or on other people, but everyone kind of comes together and puts this plan together as a family or as a friendship or whatever that partnership kind of looks like.
Definitely.
So it's good that you're finding some success there. So, what do you feel like when you're kind of cultivating this trust with your clients? How do you build that in early on? I know you really talked about kind of sharing your stories, sharing, who you are as a full person, and bringing in a lot of your life to that. But when you're first meeting someone, what are some like maybe two quick things that people can do to start to build that trust?
Yeah, definitely. It's really just listening. Although I made it a point to listen more. And then for maybe some newer advisors out there who may be listening, if you get stuck on what to say, I learned this in the industry long time ago. Just remember form. Talk about the family. Get that person opening up about their family. People love to talk about their family, their kids, their grandkids. Oh, it's for organization, or ask them what did they do for a living, if they're retired or if they're working now. And then also talk about like recreation. So what do you do outside of work? And what do you do for vacation or any vacations coming up the year? So just really breaking the ice and just helping people feel comfortable and then get to the money. And then also get a level of understanding on what that person may or may not understand as far as finances. Not everybody has the same level of understanding. So you just definitely keep that in mind. It's not a one size fit all, and your approach for one person or one group of people is may not be the same for the next person. Regardless of how much money a person may have. And then that's the beautiful part about working in different banking centers as I have is that I've worked with people or I've met people on all different sides of life. And it just made me think about a client that I had before he passed away. He worked at GE and had a couple $1 million, but his whole thought process was just work, 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 and save. Had really no clue about what he built, and in some fashions really wasn't that concerned about it. All he really wanted to do was work. So it's really just a matter of just being able to meet people where they are and have the conversation and learn about that person before we just go right in with what we can do for them and those types of things.
Oh yeah, I call them the chart people.
Yeah, I try not to be that person.
You're right. There's a term,
Yeah,
or at least one I just kind of made up. But
I
you know,
like it.
I think it is important, right? We kind of have to get back to that space of remembering that people are human and they want to be treated as such, and not putting necessarily expectations on assumptions, right? To your point of like, hey, not everyone has that same playing field, and that's regardless of what we might think from outward appearance, right? It's kind of being able to listen first, which is exactly what you said, right? Which is the one thing that sometimes we don't do the best the best job of as people. We always want to talk and then maybe listen later or pretend we're listening, right? So there's all sorts
Right.
of different types and styles of that. And when it comes to people's financial fears or things that you think hold them back, what do you feel like those things are that kind of keep people either out of this industry in general or kind of feel like, hey, I'm not sure if this is really for me?
Well, let's start with keeping people out of what I think keeps people out of the industry. I think the fear of the lack of support, and I can say that just from coming up in the industry. I mean, for as long as I was with the bank, I was, gosh, 14 years. There were no other Black reps, even when I was doing the licensed personal banker investment piece, meaning the dual role in the investment piece of it, there were no other Black financial advisors. And then once I even got the promotion and it was really in there, still there were no other banks Blacks in the industry. So just the lack of support, I think, because that could have ran me away years ago. But I remember my why and refused to be ran away or manipulated out of what I worked so hard to do. So I think that's one reason why you don't see as many Black financial advisors in the industry. And I'll be honest with you, when prior to being and leaving corporate, I didn't know of any local other than some of your like Carla Harris's or Melanie Hobson's. Those are people I looked up to and followed, but just being part of the corporate bubble. And then I can also say, honestly, once I became a financial executive or investment executive full time, I can, the inequality or the systemic racism for as long as I had been doing the investment piece in the dual role as a banker and then investment exec. Once I started doing it full time, all majority of the clients that I had under my rep code, and you understand that, and getting those accounts set up and building those relationships were taken away from me. It was almost like I had to start over again, and not to mention the banking centers, that I was given. One of the branches of where I had the most success, I had been there for 8 years and built relationships with people, and it did great in both areas, the banking area and the investment area. But it's like once I went full time, it was like, okay, you got the best of the worst or challenging branches, if you will. And then not only that piece of it, just having those challenging bank branches, it was then as they would hire new advisors who did not look like me, well, then they were placed at the more lucrative branches or producing branches. And I could not understand that. I did ask questions about it, but it was always the runaround or the carrot being dangled, if you will. If you do this, then you'll get that. Or if you do that, then you'll get this. And I remember having the conversation with someone. It was a white man, and we talked about it. And he said to me, "Your problem probably is if that you moved up. Had you stayed in a support role, you probably wouldn't have these issues." But I felt as if as long as I was in a support role, making things happen behind the scene, I didn't really need much support anymore, um, life was good, accolades, trips, recognition. But once I made that leap to full time and became equal, if you will, then things really changed. And it was very disappointing because I'd been there for a long time. So that's why I think you don't see more blacks in the industry. And then as far as the for clients, it was that I'm sorry, was that part of the question also?
No,
What
yeah, yeah, it was, yeah, about, what keeps clients sometimes fearful of entering the industry themselves. But I will say, just based on, your current response, is that I'm glad that you did stay. I mean, your
Mhm.
face, your light, what you're bringing to this industry is absolutely important, and it's important for others to hear your story, know your story, and obviously be able to work with you from any background, right? It's important. So, thank you for sharing that part as well.
Thank you. Apologize for that. Sometimes I get very passionate about the journey, if you
No, no, as
will.
you should, and it's part of the journey. It's part of the things that, we want to make sure that we are talking about, so people do understand and have that real glimpse into everyone's story, because everyone's story and journey is extremely important and impactful in the work that they do. So I'm happy that you find the space to have your voice and to make sure that it's heard.
And then with clients, what I found, I think it's just a matter of trust and not being able to identify sometimes what the other person across the desk from them. So it's kind of like, what no matter what branch I go to or warehouse or whatever, I cannot find anybody that I can relate to. And I mentioned on the educational piece that we did before, when I started and got my licenses and made it known, like, I'm not kidding. I literally had people bringing money out of safe deposit boxes, and the most money that myself and a teller counted for a client out of a safe deposit box was over $100,000. And that was because one, the educational piece and the fear. I don't trust this person. I don't know this person, and no, I'm not getting ready to give this person my money. So to have that person, have enough trust and faith in me keeps me humble. Those are the things that keeps me driven. Those types of people, or those people, are the ones who keep me in the industry. You never know who you're going to meet. And I have people I've never done anything or will keep money in a checking or savings account because they don't know, and it's just a trust thing. It's a trust and not being able to identify with the person or feel as if the other person can identify with them.
I agree. Yeah, definitely
Mhm.
agree that it's a lot of that. It's a lot of that trust factor. It's a lot of making sure people feel comfortable, because they are, handing over their lives to you, and they want to know that you're going to protect them from the world, or just things that they're fearful about, and walk them through those steps. So it's definitely been a pleasure to talk with you today and learn a lot more about your journey. And I always have a little bit of a surprise question in here. So I would actually like to ask you, what makes you brave?
Whew, I would say what makes me brave, Dana, or the people who came before me. And that's really why I was excited about this topic, because I hope that my story, my journey, helps the next person who's thinking about either getting into the industry and or leaving the industry. So I know that the journey was not easy for myself, but not easy for someone else either. And I had the pleasure to be on a call with, not personally, but a same um, Zoom special with Congresswoman Maxine Waters. And she spoke before I did. And one of the things that she talked about was being able, and the work that she's done to make sure there are seats at the table for people who look like me. And one of the things I talked about, even on the last call, when it talks about generational wealth. Those stories about, and I just use my mom as an example. Again, my family is from Selma, Alabama, having to walk to school, on dirt roads and no shoes and having to go pick cotton ahead of time. So that's real. So, and I know my mom's journey, and what she had to go through so that I can be here. So that's what keeps me driven, and just really understanding what other people had to do so that I can be here, and really in hopes that my story will inspire someone to either join the industry because we need you, and not leave the industry because maybe things may not feel good for you right now, but hang in there, and keep doing your work, stay true to your why, and you'll find yourself coming out ahead, and glad that you did stay.
Tracey, thank you so much. I That was really incredible and appreciate your story. Happy that you are brave, and I equally pull on that as well. Being able to hear your story, share your story, and continue to deepen that connection means the world to me as well, and I'm sure to others who will watch this and know that, hey, there's someone who did it and I can do it as well. So thank you so much for coming on to the Represented series. You're always obviously welcome back, and I'm sure we'll have more educational conversations and more firesides in the future. So thanks again, and thank you for the work that you do in this industry.
Thank you, Dana.
And everyone will be back for another episode of the Represented series, but feel free to continue to catch up and reach out. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.